Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Jesse Spain, and today I am presenting my analysis of body brokering in the addiction treatment industry. This is not just a business scandal, it is a legal failure, a regulatory failure, and most importantly, an ethical failure. For me, this topic is not just theoretical. I've worked as a clinician in the addiction field for more than a decade. I've worked in detox centers, residential treatment centers, outpatient, OTP clinics. I've supervised programs, I've developed programs, I've written policies and procedures, I've written curriculum. I've seen addiction at every level of care. And now, as the director of 2 recovery centers at Painted Horse Recovery, I understand something very clearly. When systems fail, ethically, real people suffer. So first, what is body brokering? Body brokering, also known as patient brokering, happens when individuals or organizations receive financial kickbacks for referring patients to specific treatment centers. Instead of placing someone in a treatment based on their clinical need, referrals are based on money. In many cases, brokers target individuals with substance use disorders who have strong private insurance coverage. Clients are sometimes cycled from detox to residential and then back again repeatedly. Many times. Sometimes they'll go travel out of state, and not because it's clinically appropriate, but because insurances can be billed again and again and again and again. This is not treatment, it's exploitation. So let's talk about the legal violations involved. There's several major federal laws connected to this scandal. The first one is anti-kickback statute. This law makes it illegal to offer or receive anything of value in exchange for referrals involving federal health care programs. Second, the False Claims Act. This allows the government to pursue organizations that submit fraudulent or inflated insurance claims. And then in 2018, Congress passed the Eliminating Kickbacks in Recovery Act. This is a direct result from the body brokering. The EKRA, Eliminating Kickbacks in Recovery Act, was significant because it expanded criminal liability into addiction treatment settings, including cases involving private insurance. Before EKRA, enforcement was more limited when federal health programs were not involved. EKRA closed that gap. Now, this all basically started during the Obama administration with the Obamacare, which basically opened up treatment centers around the country so that people could access treatment. Really good plan. The problem was there was not enough infrastructure in place to stop things like the body brokering scandal. So anyway, violations under those laws can result in heavy fines and prison time. But here's what matters most. The law responded after harm was already happening. This connects directly to chapters 20 and 21 in the legal and regulatory environment of business. Those chapters emphasize that businesses operate within statutory law and regulatory oversight. But compliance isn't just about avoiding punishment, it's about building systems that prevent harm before it occurs. And this is where my clinical background shapes how I see this issue. Addiction is not a marketing opportunity, it's a chronic, progressive, and often fatal disease where relapse is a huge part of a lot of people's process. And so this is a medical condition, addiction is. So when someone enters treatment, they're often in crisis and They could be detoxing. They may have lost family. They've surely experienced a lot of trauma. A lot of people lost their housing. They lost their kids. They lost their employment. I mean, it's a lot of loss goes on. And so this is an extremely vulnerable population that we're talking about. So when providers prioritize insurance reimbursement over recovery outcomes, that's not just illegal, it's actually a betrayal, because there's a lot of trust that becomes involved between patients, clients, and clinicians, or treatment staff, we'll call it. And so this violates principles of good faith. It violates corporate responsibility, and it violates basic human dignity. Over the years, I've worked with clients who had been bounced from facility to facility. They were exhausted, disillusioned, distrustful of the entire treatment center, and it's really difficult motivating people for change when they have experienced failure after failure from treatment providers. That distrust, it doesn't just hurt one organization, it damages the credibility of the entire recovery field. That is industry impact. It impacts all providers, even the really good ones, even the ones who are very ethically sound. It's a bad deal all the way around. So body brokering led to increased federal investigations, stricter licensing standards, and greater insurance scrutiny. Unfortunately, ethical providers often bear the weight of the misconduct of unethical ones. Okay, now let's talk about leadership. Chapters 20 and 21 also discuss corporate liability and employer responsibility. Under agency law principles, companies can be held liable for the actions of employees, especially when leadership fails to implement compliance systems. That means culture matters. If executives signal that revenue growth matters more than outcomes, staff will internalize that message, and there will be a shift in the services that they provide. But if leadership models integrity, compliance becomes culture. As a director overseeing 2 recovery centers, I take this very personal. We are not driven by insurance maximization. We are driven by recovery capital and recovery outcomes for the people that we serve. By dignity, by community, by unity. And it's a little bit different because the programs I work for are culturally specific to the Native American population. So everything that we do is for the people because it's much bigger than us. It's for our people. And so we have clear referral boundaries. We do not pay for clients. We do not accept any type of kickbacks. We document very transparently. We are under scrutiny of all kinds of state audits and federal audits to make sure that everything is transparent and above board. And also, our program, all of our services are free. Because once you compromise integrity, it spreads throughout the whole system. One bad decision turns into normalization. Normalization turns into the culture, and culture determines outcomes. The biggest lesson I can take from this scandal is the law sets the floor and ethics are at the ceiling. You can operate with legal minimums and still fail morally. Leadership requires something higher. As someone who has worked in every level of care and now leads recovery centers rooted in peer support services, I believe this: recovery is sacred, and the work that we do with our people is sacred. When business models corrupt that work, the damage is generational. Just like, for example, the opioid epidemic and the opioid settlement that the pharmaceutical industries have to pay out. that is a drop in the bucket compared to the generations that will feel the impact of that opioid epidemic. So when businesses model, when that work is corrupted, the damage is generational. Body brokering shows us what happens when profit overrides purpose, but it also reminds us of our responsibility. We are accountable for the system we build, we are accountable for the incentives we create, and we are accountable for the culture we tolerate. The law may punish misconduct after the fact, but ethical leadership prevents it in the first place. And so for me, that's about all I have. Hopefully you learned a little bit about body brokering and maybe some business law too. All right, thank you and have an amazing day.